So. This David and Celeste case, it bothers me to a degree. Because as I said before, I believe, they served a great injustice to Celeste when investigating this. I think there's so many people that agree with me on this part. Um, Even if you listen to the private investigator that was hired by the owners of the home, and you look at things that they left behind that should have been taken into evidence and was not. And I said from the beginning, me not knowing anything about David and of course Celeste before this all came out, that there's no way this dude didn't want to get caught. Simply from hearing the description of his music video, that was clear. When I heard the police narrative, the narrative that the police have decided to go with, I said, ain't no way. They gotta be playing in our face. They gotta be playing in our face. All the way down to them saying the police once went to David and said, hey, this girl is missing. She's 13 years old. Uh, Celeste, she might be missing. Haven't seen her. Blah blah blah. David said, well, no, I met her once. So on and so forth. And allegedly shows in the yearbook. It's clear to me that along the way there wasn't enough done by his family, people who knew him, people who was around him, and their parents. And the people who seem to want to cut, at minimum, her parents and his parents and black, it's really disturbing to me. And I looked at this guy's music, which I didn't want to. Looked at the theme, looked at his music videos, and I wanted to make sure to carefully curate my analysis of the situation. Now, let me close this part of the curtain because I just realized that mm, that one right there, my next door neighbor. Okay, so now I made sure to write this down because I wanted to carefully depict my analysis of the situation. Absolutely, David wanted to be caught. It makes no sense to me that people keep saying, why would he leave her body in the trunk? Um, and then, just come with in your head like, oh, maybe he was rushing to go on this tour, maybe he got a graffiti, he come back to it. None of that makes any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to anybody who understands that a body decomposes. Anybody who's been watching anything that's seen uh, clips of people who live in his home, what is that smell? What is that smell? You know, it's just ridiculous. Okay, so let's start from the top and let's be clear. All right. Now, since this case is surfaced, there's details that paint this terrifying reality, right? Now, while the details of the crime were already documented, the reason that he did it, that they say they believe he did it, it's the worst yet. And I don't think that they are the correct reason. Saying that David wanted to stop Celeste from outing their relationship. He wanted to stop Celeste from outing their relationship. It was only a secret for people who didn't know him, who didn't know him, Because by way of knowing him and being a fan of his, you knew her. Most people get into their fans business like that, especially when the fans are on social media. I mean, the artists, they get into the artist business like that, and it was no secret. By far, it was no secret. So how could she disclose something that was already well known? They claim he did it for the benefit of his music career. Now, I actually agree with that, but not with the specific narrative that it was to keep her silent. No, it was for her to speak the loud. Yeah. Now, the reason why is actually the missing piece, the understanding why all of this could have happened. And his music career holds all the answers. I really don't hear them mentioning his music much in any of these court commentaries, the prosecution. Don't seem to really mention his music. It seems that that would be the least in this case. It would be the least. It would be. And they can use it for Young Thug, Wayne Malley. This is hands down. This is hands down. Now let's uncover exactly how his alleged crime could have been connected to his success in the industry. Now, you clearly will come to the realization that David wanted to be caught. There's no other answer to this. He wanted to be caught. Now, prosecutors revealed how they believe he did it, what weapons they believe he used, and how he proceeded to attempt to dispose of her afterwards. Yet he didn't complete the mission. Now, these are truly dark and disturbing details that make all of this more horrific, especially when you realize that he was practically showing us a play by play of what he allegedly did in all his music videos that I'm just getting around to watching. But pretty much everybody has already watched these videos, especially his fans. Now, his video for romantic homicide, doesn't that look differently to y'all after what is alleged he did? Many believe that this video is unassociated with his crime. I don't understand how, but it seems like the courts are looking at it that way too. And you gotta wonder how. They think because it came out before it happened, the timeline released by the prosecution actually disproves that. Now, the prosecution's timeline might be confirmed that this song and the music video was in fact about his relationship with Celeste. We know that. That's clear. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. This whole time I'm hearing, oh, he had a girl that looked like Celeste, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that. And I'm thinking, his music, he played upon romance and dark romance and, girl and this and that because he knew that was the way that, his female fans all involved and blah, blah, blah. He may have, here or there or maybe once at least had someone that similar to Celeste. I'm thinking it wasn't really that deep until I actually watched the videos and listened to his lyrics. Now, it's believed that he met her back in January of 2022. Okay. So his music video for Romantic Homicide, okay, now I lost my place. Hold on. Let me go back up. Yeah, his music video for Romantic Homicide was released in September of 2022. 8 months after they began talking. So by now we all know that she included a Celeste lookalike in that video. Where does the speculation come in at? That's clearly about him and Celeste, right? In that music video, she meets her demise at the hands of who? David. It's not just that video either. He wrote the song entirely after he first crossed paths with Celeste. Now, public records show that he wrote the track in July of 2022. It's about 6 months after their first initial meeting. Now, this happens to be the exact song that eventually blew up and secured his major record deal. How ironic. How not. Now, things get quite interesting when you look closely at this newly established timeline. And when David met Celeste in January, he was an unknown name, not a famous artist. Now, by July, he had already written a song about deleting his girlfriend in the back of his mind. Now, shortly after that, he shoots the music video featuring a clear Celeste lookalike, who he ultimately ends up deleting at the end of the video. Now, this was essentially the spark that started his career. Mind you, all of this came out years before the alleged real world event actually took place. So he was foreshadowing to everyone, this is her and this is what's going to happen. This leads me to wonder if this outcome was not planned from the very day that he met her. Now, furthermore, this dark, twisted theme extended far beyond just that single track. Now, Romantic Homicide acted as a starting point, and David went on to release several more songs and music, the videos that followed this exact same disturbing pattern. This forbidden relationship and its eventual dark ending became the central narrative in his entire discography. It appeared that Celeste became the primary source of his dark creativity. It's as if David was obsessively documenting this dark, forbidding narrative across multiple tracks and visuals. How could no one, knowing him and her, not pick up on it? How could anyone not? Baffling. For instance, look at his song here with me. Talking about it's about, oh, yeah. Now, many fans originally saw this as another love song about growing old together. Even when I saw the little clip of him saying that this is about the movie Up back then, I still haven't heard the song. I still haven't watched the video. Still haven't looked collectively at his discography and all the information that's come out. Even then, I said that actually does not go with his musical theme. It doesn't go with his musical narrative theme at all. There is no such thing as growing old together in dark war type music. It's just not. Okay? You're not gonna go to hell and party with Satan and have the AC on all the time. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. This context shifts when you realize that it was released during the same time he was allegedly involved with Celeste. Now, he released the song in September the 22 with lyrics that read, I don't care how long it takes as long as I'm with you. To where I believe that that has a even deeper and sinister meaning that I'm not going to discuss at this time because I'm just going to be a little sensitive right now. Yeah, because that's a way more dark. Now, these lyrics were once they. Now we know exactly what he was referring to. At least some of us do. Some of us do. I've seen a couple of channels, and this is just alluding to some of the things that I'm not going to get into right now, but I've seen a couple of channels get into him placating off of an anime character that already exists, and I do see the similarities in that, along with some other themes and meanings and reasonings as to why certain parts of her were taken out and what he actually might have done with those parts. And I'm just gonna leave that there for now. Yeah. I mean, it becomes clear when we look at his music video. Just like in Romantic Homicide, the actress used in this video seems to resemble again who else? Celeste. So then you have his debut MP. Petals to Thorns. Is that what Petals to Thorns? I believe that's it. And that's practically an entire album of tragic romantic songs. Okay. Clearly, there's an audience for this, there's a genre for this, and all of that. So it's nothing new, out of the ordinary, except for the fact that it is based around one specific underage girl that actually exists and that he's actually actively with. A lot of the fans know, people around him know, his family knows. That's it. Right. You got tracks like Poetic Vulgarity and Sleep Well. Now, these continue to play with the themes of a forbidden romance mixed with a strange underlying sense of dread. In several of his music videos, he portrays an alter ego named Matana. Now, me being well versed in Hindu, I forget what it is that people are saying that Matami translates into. I think they say pain in Japanese. Actually, I actually couldn't find anything for that. But I understand what that translates into in Hindi, right? Pain simply just doesn't really do it any justice when you think about it. Because pain and him just really don't go together. But to try and depict this character, which also is in favor of this, I think, indie character that he is plagiarizing off of to some degree, it makes sense for Hindu. Now, Batami as a noun is plainly funeral. Funeral, okay? It's a Hindu word. It means mournful or in a state of mourning, grief, sorrow, sad. Now, to me, that is a lot more descriptive and proper fitting than just pain because people seem to associate that meaning with time. It's used as an adjective in Hindu. So, doleful, penitential, distressful. As a noun, it's mourning. As a verb, it is to go into mourning, right? So David actually calls Matami his evil friend, telling us clearly that that was his alter ego, right? This is a character that was sorrowful, sad, distressed, going into mourning, penitential. Okay, you can do the research on this for yourself. Isn't that how he ended with this album? With it, with his display, okay, on his guitar. Now, even more disturbing is the reoccurring imagery of the female lead in his visuals. Now, whether there is in the romantic homicide video or his other cinematic project, he consistently casts actresses who share a striking resemblance to Celeste. In these stories, the relationship almost always reaches a violent or a tragic conclusion, usually with David's character standing as the last one remaining. That was my daughter. We'd have to do more than a missing persons report, a one-time police visit. Yeah. Now, by the time he released his debut album, which is Withered, the titles themselves, like Unrequited and Leave Me Alone, seem to be framing the subject of a relationship that was spiraling towards a dark end and has now reached it. When you stack all these videos side by side, it becomes very difficult to view them as a mere creative fiction. Now, instead, they look like a multi year rehearsal for an end. In very reality, the prosecutors are now describing took place in court. All of these components together seem to paint a very clear and disturbing picture. Now, David's entire music career is based on this forbidden relationship. He told us exactly how it ends from the very beginning. From the very beginning. We don't expect Celeste to be like, oh my gosh. We do expect her to be like, oh my gosh, he's talking about me and all his songs, talking about me and all his videos. Oh my gosh. But we don't expect her to be like, oh my gosh, he's going to delete me as with the seriousness of a deep thinking adult. I'm pretty sure it crossed her mind. I mean, she knows that she's with him a lot, right? Everybody around him knows this. And they knew how deep and indulged he was in this whole lifestyle, how sick and sinister this guy really was. Now, the authorities are telling us that the reason he allegedly did it was for the survival of his music career, which he didn't plan on lasting long anyway, at least not with him actively, physically being involved in it. David was not, in my opinion, happy with life. This was calculated from the beginning to the They claim it was to keep her from exposing him to the public. Make that make sense. From the beginning when they said this, I'm like, you can't be serious. This is the best you got? No. The prosecutors, they state that Celeste threatened to disclose damaging information about their relationship, right? To end his career after they had some sort of a lengthy disagreement, which led to him sending the Uber. Now, I don't doubt that this argument may have taken place, but I believe that there's more context within this argument, and I believe it was a series of arguments that they, in my opinion, are not going to ever reveal. I believe that there was something or something deeper about him that she knew that she was threatening to disclose. But either way, I don't think he would care. It would bother him that she was exposed to things. I mean, this is the image that he is portraying that is actually real to everyone. So how could it hurt that image, but only confirm that, hey, I really am that dude. I really am that dude. That's what he wants. That's what he wants. This is just to me about the fact that this is the way that this was going to end regardless, because this is his well thought out, carefully planned story. And nothing was going to change that. Nothing was going to change that. Now, David was getting ready to drop his new album, and she was threatening to expose him. So, in order for his album to go well, his tour to go well, and all this stuff, he had to stop her. Crap. Because the only people that was into David was the people who knew about David and his music. Hardcore fans. I've seen them. I've looked at what they type. I looked at how they feel about him and his music. Some people seem to even be having a very difficult time completely tying his music to Celeste. They don't want to unfan him. They don't want to undo this deep connection that they have to his music and their video. Although they understand that at the end of the day, this is real life being depicted here. You have people who have done horrific things in the past, and people cherish their documentations of it. Like, sad, like memorabilia. We can go all down the line, y'all. Y'all already know some, and if you don't, do your research. Shit, it's too many popular stories throughout history. So, just days before his album Withered was released, he allegedly silenced her. This whole thing about silencing her is a problem for me, because to me it paints a whole different scenario and narrative than what actually is. David wasn't trying to silence her when loudest one telling the story. He was the loudest one telling this story. To be silent, he doesn't want anyone to be silent about it at all. Now, this actually may have happened, like I said, this whole argument and her issuing threat. Um, but again, I believe it was much deeper than just telling people about their relationship. Everybody knew except for those of us who did not even know this, right? Now, his entire discography, I got a couple typos here. I did this kind of fast because I just wanted to make sure I get, complete thoughts down, and I skip around and I always leave out stuff. And some things I'm leaving out intentionally because this is just a basic, further in-depth conversation is something that I would only engage in with people who seem to already be on that path, which there are people out there. I found them. You know what I mean? There are people who have dug so much deeper in this, and let me hint at that by referring back to when I talked about what he may have done with some of her body. Okay. Um, including the name of this album. Now, it seems to point to a different reality entirely. A different reality than him wanting her to never tell about their relationship that everybody who knew them knew about anyway. You think his fans and they go live and he's in Discord. This is the age of social media. He reaches out to his fans. He's involved with fans. They are upset. We know this is the beginning of time. They know who he takes on tour with him for the most part. They know who in his camp he allows to be seen. They know who he's dating essentially. And he wanted it to be known that Celeste was his girlfriend. Did he paint to the public this is her age? No. But that wasn't hard for them to know. It's people who actually know her. You know what I'm saying? So this was already something that the fans knew and they were discussing anyway. Him showing that he's in a relationship with a girl that he is actually talking about in his songs and his music videos actually helped into this story. He was talking about the girl. They actually know. So to say he would delete her to silence her from who? People like me who didn't know who he was. Mm. I mean, if I was to hear David's music now and be like, okay, because I've been down that road of the dark, the gore, the goth, the all of that, and still